have your partner starting off in a standing position, okay? We're going to do it not only in standing, but we're also going to do it in prone, all right? So your partner, I'm going to have you just face the board this way. All right, so we have two starting points that we're going to use, C7 and L4, okay? Let's just have to take the hat off. Okay. So, do you mind turning the light on? Yeah. Good. All right, so to start off at C7, C7 is going to be the most prominent spinous process at the lower part of the neck. We can confirm our position by having your partner flex the neck, okay? So on a lot of you, what you'll see is one, sometimes you'll see two spinous processes become more visible, all right? So upon cervical flexion, one of the segments should become more prominent. Now, sometimes, like I said, you'll see two, sometimes you'll see three, but we have to figure out which one is which. So in this situation, I see one here in the center. I'm going to place my finger on that. I believe that's C7. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the segment below it, which would be which segment? T1. All right. So now I'm going to have him. So now I can feel the spinous process of T1 and C7. Okay, look straight ahead. In order to confirm the position, I'm going to have him flex again. So go ahead, bring your neck down. Good. What I should feel is the spinous process of C7 move superiorly. Okay? And come back up and look back down. Good. So I should feel right at the end there that little bit of superior directed motion at that C7. If I am on T1, I will feel nothing. Okay? There will be no movement. You will feel some of the skin stretching over, but there's a difference between the segment moving and the skin that's stretching underneath your skin, underneath your finger. So if I'm on C7 and T1, I should note C7 moves superiorly, T1 doesn't move. Why wouldn't T1 move? Okay, that's partially it, because he is flexing the neck, but what locks it in position? What attaches onto T1?
The ribs.
The first rib is attached onto T1. Basically, it's going to lock it into position and not allow it to flex upon cervical flexion. Okay? All right, so like I said, with your partners, if there's multiple segments, you might have to check between C7 and C6. Sometimes C6 can be prominent as well. If they both move, you obviously know that you're still in the cervical spine. Then you have to find where T1 is. Okay? So you're trying to find T1, feel that that doesn't move while the one segment above it does, which would be your C7. Okay? So now that I've found C7, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk myself down to the spinous processes all the way down the thoracic spine and try to get down into the lumbar spine as well. Okay? Now on some of you, it's going to be a lot more easy, on some of your partners. On others, it's going to be more tissue that you have to palpate through. So this is why I want you guys to take different partners. If it's really easy with one partner, don't just leave it at that. Switch partners and try to practice on someone else. Okay? So I'm at C7. I'm then going to follow right along. Feel for the spinous processes of T1. Okay? Bless you. T2. As I start getting further and further down the thoracic spine, I'm going to start to notice that they're not as prominent. Okay? What you can do to make them a little more prominent in terms of your palpation today would be have your partner flex the whole back. So they're going to just bend forward, try to touch their toes, okay? And just try to round out. Good. All right. In your partner, even if it doesn't appear to be more prominent, as you go through it, you'll actually feel the spinous processes have become more apparent. Okay? So you can follow it this way. You should feel not only the spinous process, but the space in between. Okay, now come back up a second. So what I want you to do is try as best as you can to follow from C7 and try to walk your way all the way down to the lumbar spine. All right, now the other location is L4, okay? The other starting point that we can use is going to be L4. So come just sidestep to your left. For L4, the spinous process of L4 is going to be in line with the iliac crest. So what we're going to do is just sit your hands on top of the iliac crest, point your thumbs inward towards the spine, and that should put you on the spinous process of L4. Okay? Now, in order to make sure I'm on L4, how many segments do I have below L4? Right. So if I go from L4, if I follow down, the next segment should be L5. And then after L5, what will I be on? Good. So sit your hands on top of the iliac crest. That should put you on L4. Then follow down. Make sure there's only one other spinous process, which would be L5. And then after that would be the sacrum. So that puts you now on L4. And I can also use that to help myself count up. Okay? So let's say, for example, you were given T12, the spinous process of T12 to find. Okay? It's probably going to be easier to go from L4 and count up than it is going to be from C7 to count all the way back down. Okay? So try to find these two starting points. Now, again, the same situation in the lumbar spine. In order to feel the lumbar spinous processes a little either, you can also have your partner flex forward. Right? So that'll allow you to feel the spinous processes of the lumbar spine as well. Okay? So make your way, try to count them all the way up and through. All right, now, those are the two starting points that you can use. There are some other generalized areas that I want you to know as well. Okay? So the superior angle of your scapula should roughly be in line with T2. Okay? The spinous process of T2. So on your partners, I want you to try to find T2 and then feel and see if it's in line with the superior angle. Okay? Also, on the inferior angle should be roughly in line with T7. Okay? So, superior angle T2, inferior angle spinous process of T7. Okay? And I say generally because posture is going to affect whether or not it's exactly in line with it. So you don't use these as starting points. What I want you guys to use this as today is as a way to just assess if you're roughly in that correct area. See if your partner's T2 will line up at the superior angle, and if their T7 will line up the inferior angle. Okay? All right. But don't use that as a starting point on a test because you could be wrong. All right. So what I want you guys to do now, find C7, find L4, count your way up and down the spinous processes on your partner, and then switch. So we're going to have you do it in a standing position. I also then, when you're done with that, I want you to take your partner, put them in prone, okay? And switch partners up. All right, good. Thank you.